Hello, my super deep divers. Welcome to another episode. My name is Jason, and I am so glad to have you here on Superhero Deep Dive. Let me get my normal disclaimers out, and I will get into today's show, which should be great. So, as always, the information is pulled across different sources from the internet, and may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superhero. Also, if you guys ever want to catch me on internet radio, I am broadcast every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the day on Outworld Fleet Radio. Their website is www.un-con-ventional.com/radio. You can catch me every Tuesday at 8 a.m. on YouTube. I also have videos coming out every Friday and every day, Monday through Friday, of superhero memes, and I've just started a new series called What the Hell? And that is on Superhero Deep Dive on YouTube. Please comment, like, subscribe, share, help me grow the channel. If I can get 500 subscribers, I'll do a giveaway, and then I'll go and do another giveaway at 1,000. So help me beat the algorithms and grow the channel. You can also catch me on Twitter or Instagram under Super Deep Dive, and I always use the hashtag Superhero Deep Dive. And finally, if you ever want to just reach out to me individually without being public, you can always send me a DM, or you can email me at b4itall, so b4itall at yahoo.com. I do get quite frequent emails with requests and things like that, so let's have a conversation. Let's get into it. This week, I am going to be talking about Gambit. Gambit is one of my favorite Marvel mutants. I've always been a big fan of Gambit. I don't know why. I know a lot of people think he's really lame. I love him. And yeah, we're going to talk about him because he is amazing. So his real name is Remy LeBeau, or Remy Etienne. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Etienne LeBeau. He was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and he was kidnapped from a hospital where he was born and raised by the LeBeau clan Thieves Guild, and then given to the Antiquary as a tribute. They referred to the child as Le Diable Blanc, or the White Devil, and believed he was prophesied to unite the warring thieves and assassins guilds. Soon after, Remy was placed in the care of Fagin's Mob, a gang of street thieves who raised the child and taught him the ways of thievery. After living as an orphan on the streets, a 10-year-old Remy attempted to pick the pocket of Jean-Luc LeBeau, who was the actual patriarch of the Thieves Guild. Jean-Luc took the boy off the streets and adopted him into his own family. Wow. So this kind of reads like the beginning of The Great Gatsby or something, or Oliver Twist or something like that, you see a bunch of little page boys trying to run through the town, picking up newspapers off the ground and selling them so they can get money for free, stuff like that. Doesn't translate very well, but it's what happened. Now, Remy's biokinetic charging capabilities or abilities manifested early in his teens, although he kept his powers secret from his family and friends, practicing his powers away from prying eyes. When he was 15, he accompanied his cousin Etienne Marteau on his tithing, which is the ritual initiation test of the Thieves Guild. However, it went awry as they were assigned to steal from the powerful immortal mutant Kandra, who quickly captured them. Kandra recognized Remy from an encounter that had taken place in her past, but in his future, which was due to a time travel mission to the 19th century that Remy would take as an adult. So, sometime in the future, Gambit would go back in time and meet Kandra, so she remembers him as a younger child. Doesn't read well. But it sold them to the deformed mutant gangster and child slave trader known as the Pig, who planned to sell them and others their age to Hydra as boy soldiers. Remy used his powers to escape their holding pen, but the physically enhanced pig quickly caught up to them. Remy discovered his signature attack when he picked up a playing card that Etienne had dropped, charged it, and threw it at the pig's face, taking out his eye. Finally, escaping this clifftop headquarters by diving into the sea, Remy was ultimately rescued by the guild, and Etienne drowned. So that kinda sucks. Sorry. Okay. Now later during his teen years, Remy was first hired by Mr. Sinister, then in the disguise of Dr. Nathaniel Essex. Essex wanted his stolen diaries back from the Weapon X program. Remy and the Thieves Guild accepted the mission and sent out Remy to retrieve said diaries. Standing in the cold, scouting the Weapon X facility, Remy could not bear the cold and swore he would steal a long, stylish jacket in New Orleans after the mission, which he ended up doing. Upon entering the facility, Remy witnessed Wolverine escaping from his adamantium procedure and found the diaries. However, deeming them to be too dangerous for Essex to have, as Remy did not fully trust him, Remy burned the diaries. He headed back home, only to find a disappointed Thieves Guild and disappointed Essex. In an attempt to reconcile the Thieves and Assassins Guild, Remy married Belladonna Boudreaux, granddaughter of the head assassin, whom he met at the age of 8. Unfortunately, he was challenged by her brother Julian to a duel after the wedding. In the duel, Gambit killed Julian and was exiled from the city, ending his romantic relationship with Belladonna. After his exile from New Orleans, he wandered the world and became a master professional thief, making many contacts and enemies, and during this period, Gambit found he had an uncontrollable amount of energy flowing through him, to the point that he could not withstand it. Desperate, Gambit went to Mr. Sinister for help. Sinister modified Gambit's power by removing a portion of Gambit's brainstem, making him significantly less powerful, but able to control the still considerably large amount of power within him. Always have a hard time saying that. Considerably large amount of power in him. Years later, a much younger version of Mr. Sinister surgically returned it upon Gambit's request when Gambit time traveled to the 19th century. That's where Kendra saw him first. Bum bum bum. It all comes full circle. You would never have guessed it. But you would have. Okay. However, Sinister wanted the favor returned for putting his brain back together. Okay, so Gambit carried out various missions for him. For the last of these operations, Gambit gathered together a group of mercenaries which Sinister named the Marauders. This is a big one. Mr. Sinister then ordered Gambit to lead Sabretooth, Blockbuster, Prism, and Riptide into the tunnels under New York City. While unknown to Gambit, however, Mr. Sinister had also ordered Scalp Hunter, Arclight, Harpoon, Malice, Scrambler, and Vertigo into the tunnels. The group of Scalp Hunter followed the Morlock Tommy, and their goal was to wipe out the Morlocks completely. But he was able to save a single child named Sarah, who would grow up to be Marrow, the leader of the mutant terrorist group G Nation. Now, we did a deep dive on Marrow. I suggest you check it out. Gambit long kept his involvement with Mr. Sinister and his mission in the massacre a secret from his fellow X-Men, much to their eventual displeasure. Now, what's cool about this is that the Marauders, like that mission, was responsible for Angel losing his wings and then getting them reimplanted by Apocalypse and becoming Archangel. Like, all of that was set in motion because of Gambit. So, like, there's a lot to deal with in there, and there's a lot to process, right? Because don't no one want any of that stuff happening. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. I tried to copy the meme and I failed miserably. But anyways, alright. After wandering around the world, he encountered a de-aged and powerless Storm, and helped her escape from the Shadow King. He then rescued her from Nanny and the Orphan Maker, helping her battle them. Afterwards, the young Storm with amnesia. The young Storm with amnesia, who had reverted to thieving to stay alive, joined Gambit, and she eventually brought him back to the X-Men. Soon after, Gambit helped the X-Men, X-Factor, and New Mutants battle the Genosians. Only Wolverine expressed his doubts about the occasion, which led to a Danger Room duel between the two. Gambit and the X-Men were then... Oh no, hold on. Okay, yeah, the Danger Room duel. Gambit was able to triumph by using a robotic doppelganger of Lady Deathstrike to distract Wolverine while taking advantage of Wolverine's injuries inflicted by the Reavers. Gambit and the X-Men were then taken to the Shi'ar Galaxy by Leela Cheney, and alongside the X-Men and Starjammers, Gambit battled Deathbird, the Imperial Guard, and a band of War Skrulls. Upon their return to Earth, Gambit assisted the X-Men and X-Factor in battling the Shadow King, though he was temporarily controlled by the Shadow King. Wow, that's so much to take in. Can you guys take it all in? Because I don't know. That's so much. That's like, I feel like they aren't doing a lot with the character so far. They're just throwing him in and they're having him be the catalyst for a lot of things, but they're not really like pushing, you know? They're not really being like, yeah, let's totally have him be this guy to be like a hinge point for things. Let's just kind of have him do what he needs to do and we'll go from there. At least that's how I'm taking it. I could be wrong. I might be right. But I would love to know what you guys think first and foremost. Okay, well, let's keep going. When the original 5 X-Men rejoined the team, and it was divided into 2 squads at that point. Gambit became part of the Blue Team under Cyclops' leadership. Alongside the X-Men, he battled Magneto and the newly formed Acolytes, Fenris, the Hand, Omega Red, and Sabretooth, and then Mojo. Gambit then fought Bishop and was attacked by his estranged wife Belladonna. Gambit recounted how he had fled from New Orleans after killing his brother-in-law in self-defense. Alongside the X-Men, Gambit first encountered the second Ghost Rider. Gambit battled the Brood Queen and the Brood possessed Ghost Rider and witnessed the apparent death of his now ex-wife Belladonna. Gambit then became romantically interested in one of his teammates. I'll let you guess. I'm going to say it on 3. So 1, 2, 3. Rogue. Everyone that's seen the cartoon knows this. They actually kept it true. Good fit. So, interested in his teammate Rogue, and they started flirting with her. Or he started flirting with her. Despite her off-putting manner and the obstacle of her uncontrollable mutant ability that prevented anyone from touching her, he began romancing and seducing Rogue. Their strong romantic relationship was originally written as a one-time flirtatious moment, but ironically their romantic relationship is listed as one of the longest and most popular ongoing deep and close relationships in the X-Men series, probably only second to Jean Grey and Cyclops. Now, here's a funny thing about Rogue. Rogue can't be touched consciously. And when I say that, I mean, if you go up and she sees you and you touch her, she's absorbing something, you know. But like, say you were walking around and you brushed up against her, or you know, you tripped, you kind of touched her briefly and then let go, she wouldn't have absorbed anything because she wasn't conscious of it until you had already let go. So her powers are weird like that, I guess. That's probably a good way to say it. Her powers are just weird like that. Let's see here. Okay. Although their early courtship portrayed him as very devil-may-care in his flirtation with her, later issues revealed that beneath his bravado and swagger, he truly had genuine romantic feelings for Rogue. Similarly, Despite her initial aggressive rejection of his advancement, Rogue found that she was not only flattered by his attention, but that she also felt equally attracted to him. That's right. That's right. That's because he's Gambit and he can do what he wants to do. You guys remember that. Take notes. No. So many publishing years later, and it's because publishing years are not the same as story years. So many publishing years later, it had become apparent that Remy had a dark secret. Sabretooth had hinted on it on numerous occasions during his residency at the X-Mansion, prompting Rogue to ask him to reveal whatever he knew about Gambit's past. Remy was captured and brought before a mock trial held by Magneto, the mutant master of magnetism, disguised as Eric the Red. Rogue was then forced to kiss him again, revealing that he had gathered information on the Morlocks and assembled a team of marauders for Mr. Sinister, who did not inform Remy of his ultimate intent for the mutant Morlocks. When the Marauders later began killing most of the Morlocks, it was revealed that Gambit saved a single girl from the Marauders during the massacre, who was Marrow, and this apparent revelation and absorbing Gambit's own guilty memories caused Rogue to reject him. Gambit was then cast out of the X-Men and was abandoned in the frozen wastes of Antarctica. You know, they were so overcome with everything that was going on that they just couldn't deal with it. And, I mean, really, could you blame them? Could you blame them? Like, yes, you were tricked into doing this, but you were still part of it and you didn't tell us. You know, and yeah, that's just crazy. Now, starving and haunted by the betrayal of his lover, Gambit made his way back into Magneto's citadel, where he encountered the psionic essence of a dead mutant named Mary Purcell, or Purcell, I don't know. The wraith-like Mary bonded with him, allowing him to survive until he reached the Savage Land, a hidden jungle nestled in the icy wasteland. There, Remy struck a deal with the enigmatic being known as the New Sun. That's kind of like me. I'm Jason, and that's the New Sun. I'm sorry, that's terrible. That's another bad joke. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. Okay, so he struck a deal with the New Sun. In exchange for passage back to America, Gambit agreed to run errands with the help of his friend Jacob Gavin Jr., and during this period, Remy's command over his abilities strengthened and amplified significantly. When Gambit's psychic absorption had worn off, Rogue spent months searching for him to no avail. Gambit encountered Storm and Shadowcat when he attempted to steal the fabled Crimson Gem of Sidorak for his new employer. He agreed to return to the X-Men mainly for his self-respect and for Rogue, and at one point he became the field leader of a branch of X-Men. His romantic love for Rogue was still intact, but her inability to control her powers made her break it off out of fear of hurting him. Which, you know, is understandable. It sucks, but I can understand that. So meanwhile, the New Sun revealed his true identity as an alternate universe version of Gambit himself, after organizing an assassination game for a cadre of superpowered mercenaries with Remy as the target. During the final confrontation, Gambit burned out his enhanced abilities, thus returning to his original level of power. Now, I have a question about that. His original level of power, is that with or without the part of the brainstem? Because his original level of power before Mr. Sinister took out part of his brainstem was uncontrollable and crazy and super powerful. It's probably without the brainstem, because that's how they like to do things. Hooray, continuity. Okay. Anyways, Rogue's foster mother, Mystique, was displeased with Rogue's choice of lovers and infiltrated Xavier's Institute by shapeshifting into a student called Fox. That's with 2 X's. She joined Gambit's squad in an attempt to ruin his relationship with Rogue, and after Gambit resisted her charms, Mystique reverted to her true form and then offered Gambit something significantly more difficult to refuse. She transformed into Rogue and offered Gambit a rogue with whom he could have a physical relationship, claiming that she was only trying to help relieve the increasing frustrations between the two lovers. You know what that means, right? So if one of you could have some physical release, and Rogue eventually discovered her mother's presence in the school and that Gambit knew she was there, Gambit denies that he ever slept with Mystique. That's pretty messed up. Has that ever happened to you guys? Not that, your girlfriend's mom shapeshifts into her, but, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Keep it to yourselves. Or comment on the YouTube video and start a discussion. I don't know. Just whatever. Alright. Upon the return of Apocalypse, Gambit submitted himself to the villain and was transformed into one of Apocalypse's horsemen, Death. Gambit intended to infiltrate himself into Apocalypse's ranks in order to protect the X-Men from the Dark Lord's eventual betrayal. But he miscalculated as the transformation process warped his mind as well as his body. After becoming Death, Gambit's hair turned white and his skin turned deep black. Despite having his mind and body twisted, Gambit retained a large portion of his former self, stating to Apocalypse, "I'm both Death and Gambit." And he also remembered his love for Rogue, as he could not bring himself to kill her. Gambit and Sunfire then returned to the Xavier Institute to claim Polaris, and Gambit, in an attempt to free all ties from his older self, tried to kill Rogue and would have been successful if it had not been for those pesky children and that stinking dog. No, if it had not been for Pulse neutralizing Gambit's powers. Now, after the X-Men defeated Apocalypse, Sunfire left with Gambit to help him clear Apocalypse's brainwashing and live as entirely new beings, only to then be approached by Mr. Sinister. ... Now, there's more history here. There's lots more, but I stopped it because it seemed at this point, a lot of it just seemed to kind of go in a circle. It just started repeating itself, just started kind of putting him in stories, but didn't really develop his character. So I wasn't dealing with all that. I wanted to stop so we could actually enjoy the character and the essence of it. But I do encourage you guys to do more research on him, to actually look him up. Like I said, he's always been one of my favorites. I love this character, like absolutely love this character. So find some stories. There are some good ones out there. And yeah, enjoy. But what do you guys think of Gambit? Like, pretty interesting history, right? He's had to do a lot on his own. And I think that's kind of endearing. He's also one of those guys that every time he's had a step up, someone has knocked him down. And I think we can all relate to that somewhere in our lives. Every time we started getting ahead, something happened. Like, I'm gonna share a personal story with you guys that's really embarrassing. When I was in 5th grade, my mom gave me a perm. Which she had done it before, but it ended up, she left it in for like not very long at all, and it came out as a wave in my hair, which looked pretty good. This one, she actually lost track of time. My hair looked like Michael Jackson from the Pepsi commercial. Like, I mean, it was Jerry curled. So I still had to go to school the next day. I was late for the bus. So I get on the bus. I'm the last one on the bus at my bus stop. Kids are laughing at me. It's like, okay. Our bus has some kind of issue. We're late for school. So I'm actually the last one that comes into my class. I walk into my 5th grade class and everyone is talking and kind of chatting around because, lo and behold, it's school picture day. They all stop and look at me, and it's like one of those old westerns, where the stranger comes in and all the music stops. If you hear my kid yelling in the background, it's because he's yelling at the dogs. to try to get their attention. So I'm sorry. But anyways, everyone stops, looks at me, and they all start busting out laughing, even the teacher. And this was also school picture day. Felt terrible. So it was a nightmare. And every so often, I'd start getting popularity up, and then that yearbook picture would randomly pop up and just knock me down. And it haunted me for so long. So yeah, so these things can happen. I could definitely relate to Gambit with this. But that's its history. Like I said, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, you can email me at b4itall, so b4itall at yahoo.com. You can catch me on Twitter or Instagram under superdeepdive, and I use the hashtag superherodeepdive. Or you can catch me on YouTube under superherodeepdive, where you can comment, like, subscribe, share, help me grow the channel. But I do acknowledge every comment, and we can have a discussion on this. Let's have a discussion on Gambit. But in the meantime, let's go over his powers. His powers are awesome, and they're a lot like what you see in the cartoons, but let's talk about it. So Gambit is a mutant with the ability to convert the potential energy stored in an inanimate object into pure light kinetic energy, thus charging that item with highly explosive results. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's see, he prefers to charge smaller objects, such as his ever-present playing cards, as the time required to charge them is greatly reduced, and they are much easier for him to throw. So that's cool. That's why he likes those. There's a scene in the X-Men animated series where he picks up like a bunch of bolts or rocks, and he throws them, and they're a bunch of like little, almost like bullets. Because he charged them. Small things he can charge. He can technically charge a mountain, but it would take a long time. So, so there's that. We don't want that happening. The only real limitation to his ability is the time required to charge an object. The larger it is, the more time it takes. Most charging takes place through direct skin contact, and the power of his explosions is dependent on the mass of the object he is charging. So for example, a charged playing card explodes with the force of a grenade. And Gambit can also use his mutant abilities to accelerate an object's kinetic energy instead of converting its potential energy. So for example, he can charge his bow staff with enough kinetic energy and power to level a house. So it's pretty cool. Gambit's ability to tap into kinetic energy also grants him incredible superhuman physical attributes like strength, speed, reflexes, agility, flexibility, dexterity, coordination, balance, and endurance. As his body constantly generates biokinetic energy, and so is perfectly constructed for constant motion, this gives him an added edge that he has used to his advantage by developing a unique acrobatic fighting style. See, now that's cool. I never knew this. Until I started doing research for it. I never knew that his powers actually gave him strength and endurance and things like that. I just thought he was extremely well trained, because I could be naive like that. Now the charged potential energy always in his body grants him the ability to build up charges of static electricity and shields his mind from detection and intrusion by even the strongest and most powerful telepaths, such as Emma Frost, Jean Grey, or even Charles Xavier. The shield has the added effect of destabilizing touch-based abilities. So it can help destabilize Rogue's abilities, right? I mean, is that what happens? Gambit also possesses an unusually strong and irresistible hypnotic charm that allows him to exert a subtle influence over sentient beings, leading them to believe what he says and agree with his suggestions. The charm is so strong and powerful that if given a chance, Gambit could even charm the Shadow King himself. The hypnotic charm does not work on those who know about it. So that's kind of crazy. But that's awesome. Like, that's beautifully awesome. Now, during combat, Gambit customarily wears a suit of highly articulated light body armor and uses an extendable metal staff. He is extensively trained in martial arts, particularly savate and the staff-style art Bojutsu. He is an excellent hand-to-hand combatant, applying street fighting techniques and acrobatics. Do you know what street fighting techniques are? You know, you hurt them before they hurt you. You don't pull punches. You go for the soft spots. Gambit is also a skilled card thrower, so he throws his charged playing cards at opponents with great accuracy. He also excels in all aspects of thievery, as he was adopted by the Patriarch of a Thieves Guild. So we're just kind of keeping that. They want to keep that in mind, right? They want to keep that on the forefront. Like, hey, he's gonna pick your pockets if you let him. But yeah, like, absolutely love this character. Think he's doing great. Okay. Let's see here. Gambit was temporarily given the full strength and potential of his mutant abilities to battle his counterpart, New Sun. At his full strength and power, Gambit can control all aspects of kinetic energy, down to even the molecular level, allowing him to manipulate the potency of his biokinetic energy to burn, cause molecular discomfort, incinerate, create time detonations, and manipulate the potency of that. Fire energy blast, defy gravity, heal wounds, charge objects within his line of sight without contact, manipulate the flow of time and space, and effectively exist as an energy being. I think that's a little much, but okay, whatever. So under such conditions, he holds sufficient power to cause another being to be unable to move, or unable to stop if in motion. He has been able to cause or stimulate various energies by manipulating the kinetic energy present, such as infrared and microwaves, by increasing molecular agitation, or cold by reducing it. He was also able to use his powers to travel through space-time, cross dimensions, and remake realities outside of space-time by transforming himself into a TARDIS. By transforming himself into living energy which joined with the kinetic flow. Finally, Gambit was able to heal himself by stimulating his own cellular activity. I bet he gets 5G. And these enhanced powers were burnt out after fighting New Sun, and Gambit has since returned to his original, somewhat lower power levels. Yeah, because his other powers, he was stronger than Superman. You know, I mean, when his powers were at full blast, I think he could take out Galactus if he wanted. Like, that's an unreal level of power. And I think what happened was they were talking about it, and then someone just went crazy on a brainstorm and like, what if he does this? Well, what if he does this? If he can do this and he can manipulate this, and I mean, they just went crazy with it. So, now, after Sage jump-started his powers, like after they were lowered, he was able to heal his blinded eyes, thus implying that he is able to heal himself, and is also, again, able to charge living things with energy, as when he teamed up with Sebastian Shaw to destroy Mr. Sinister's machines. He was also given another boost when he was killed in an altercation with a drug lord, and Fazia Hussein managed to restore him before it set in. Before death set in? I don't know. Enabling him to charge a bullet with twice as much explosive force than usual. He has later been proven to delay his explosions again, although this is difficult for him to accomplish. Now, after Apocalypse used his celestial technology to transform Gambit into the Horseman Death, Gambit demonstrates the ability to convert inert materials into toxic substances, such as transforming breathable air into poisonous gases. He also has the potential to ingest diseases and plagues. It is apparent that the celestial technology never left his system, as seen during a telepathic attack against him that temporarily brought out the Death Persona, which eventually killed the attacker. So, this is crazy. That's crazy, to be the Herald of Death and then, hold on to that. But let's go to fun facts. Let's look at something a little brighter. Fun facts. In 2011, IGN ranked Gambit 65th on their top 100 comic book heroes list. In 2013, Comics Alliance ranked Gambit 4th in their 50th sexiest male characters in comics list. In 2015, Entertainment Weekly ranked Gambit 8th in their Let's Rank Every X-Men character list. In 2017, comicbook.com ranked Gambit 10th in their 10 best X-Men list, so he just made the cut. In 2018, CBR.com, which is comicbookresources.com, ranked Gambit 27th in their Age of Apocalypse 30 strongest characters in Marvel's coolest alternate world list. In 2022, CBR.com ranked Gambit and Rogue 7th in their 10 best Marvel couples list. In 2022, Screen Rant ranked Gambit 1st in their 10 best X-Men characters created by Chris Claremont list. That's such a very specific list. Rogue is also ranked number 1 in their top 10 mutants of color with white hair, white eyes that can control the weather. It's so specific. Okay. Gambit was also in numerous animated appearances in cartoons such as X-Men, X-Men Evolution, and Wolverine and X-Men. The character was portrayed by Tyler Kitsch in the live-action X-Men Origins Wolverine. A Gambit spinoff was in development at least until May 2014, with Channing Tatum signed on, but after 5 years of being stuck in development hell, the film was canceled in May 2019. So, those are powers and fun facts. Whew, that's a lot. He's got so many levels to him. I would love to hear your feedback on him. But in the meantime, I'm going to hit my favorite part. This is the power expansion. This is where I go in and say, do they need a comic series? Do they need a movie? Do they need a live action series? Do they need an animated series? What can we do with this character? What would the storyline be? If we were to cast them in a live action series, who would we cast in that character? What would be the plot? All that kind of good stuff. Now, like I said before, I've always been a huge Gambit fan. And in fact, to me, Gambit was my definition of cool. He was a man that always had a charming quip to say, he knew how to act around women, and he could fight with one of my favorite weapons of all time to use, the bow staff. Now with that being said, I really can't see a live action rendition of Gambit. Mentally, it just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't see how we could make a movie with him, or even a series. Maybe as a side character, but that's still kind of pushing it because he is such a character. And the Gambit that was in the Wolverine movie, I'm sorry guys, he was just pitiful. So we won't mention him past this. That's going to be the end of that talk. He was pitiful. Okay. But what I would like to see for Gambit is something like a graphic novel or trade paperback of Gambit's past. In detail of his past. I'd love to see something kind of dark and gritty, but with his Gambit flair. Almost like a dark James Bond kind of feel to it. I want to learn about what formed him into who he is. I want to see his background and how things have formed around him. We get a lot of stories, but I don't actually see it. It hasn't been consistent. I want to see his teen years where he was learning how to be a thief, and then the emergence of his powers. I want to see him take someone's wallet and then charge it by accident to explode. Maybe it blew someone's butt or something, it could have been, I don't know. But stuff like that. It would be crazy. It would be funny, but it'd also make him more endearing and more human. Now, when doing this hero, I purposefully stopped after a set point. And this is because he started getting thrown into different stories, but it didn't really seem to develop him any further. There's always a rift between him and Rogue. There's always this hidden mystery about where his allegiance always lies. I believe him and Rogue got married at one point, but I think it may have been canceled. It's so hard to say nowadays. There's just so much going back and forth. that things weren't consistent. And that's what I need in my characters. I need some consistency to where I could set it down and maybe a year or two later come pick up a book and fill in the blanks from there, not be totally lost. You know, I need them to be something like that because I grew up with comics, so superheroes are almost like family to me, you know? I know it sounds lame, but it is what it is. You know, like, let's see here. I want to see Gambit get in with the Marauders, deal with Sinister. There seems to be tons of tiny gaps in his story. And I think the parts that they try to fit in aren't necessarily coherent enough to keep in line. Like, I want a series with a straight timeline for the fans that have been there as Gambit fans from the beginning. Even if it was starting in the animated series, which is fine. Because that's where, I mean, let's be honest with each other. That's where a lot of us became real X-Men fans, is during the animated series, because it was awesome. But he's just always been an awesome character, and he needs to get that flushed out and straightened up. Like, we need something a little bit more coherent, because if you look at his history, it goes everywhere. And the farther it goes, like the more outreached it goes, the less it makes sense. But I want to know what you guys think. If you're listening on wherever you listen to your favorite podcast or on Outward Fleet Radio, please find me on Twitter or Instagram under Super Deep Dive, and you can use the hashtag Superhero Deep Dive. Let me know what you think. Find me on YouTube. That's the best one to go to because I actually have slideshows posted of the character. It's under Superhero Deep Dive. Comment, like, subscribe, share. Like I said before, I respond to everything. I acknowledge every comment, even if it's just liking it. But I do normally respond. If there's something that keeps the conversation going, I will definitely respond to it to keep a conversation going. Or you can email me directly at b4itall, so b4itall@yahoo.com. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if you have any requests for future episodes, critiques, anything, like any other fun facts you want to put out there, let me know and I'll be more than happy to do that. But in the meantime, guys, I'm going to step out. I hope everyone is blessed. I hope everyone's happy. I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is smart. And if you're not smart, don't get caught. And real quick, I want to send out my love and appreciation for Jason David Frank and his family. And I literally just went blank. I want to say Kevin Conrad, but I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. But the voice of Batman, you are the best Batman. Jason David Frank, you are the quintessential Ranger. You are the Power Ranger that we all know. So much love. I'm sorry for they're gone too soon. It's always going to be too soon for them. Much love to their friends and families. But I'm going to head out, guys. I hope everyone has a great day, great week coming up. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.